In February 2026 we headed for Saint Gervais Les Bains for a wee boarding and skiing holiday. As always in a winter sports holiday, it took us a wee while to get up the slopes on our first day. We sorted out our lift passes and headed up the Betex and Betex Arbois gondolas to the top of the Château-Louis Green Run, which we thought would be ideal to reacquaint ourselves with the snow. On the way down the run there was a small pub restaurant on the left called La Cabane à Leo. This is a very pretty wee spot for a beer, a coffee or a van show, and Stu, Mike and I stopped there to rendezvous with Bill, who'd left us to sort out his ski hire. You can see the pub off to the right just before you go into the dip on the Betex Arbois gondola. Having met up with Bill, we dropped down to Lake Communal and tried to get a table for some lunch, but were advised that they were fully booked. They had so many tables with no cutlery set that on reflection I'm thinking that we maybe didn't fall within their target customer profiles. The only way out of there was via the Communal Pomma. I'm not a Pomma fan, as I feel that they twist your back a little if you're on a snowboard. I managed to survive the initial launch, but was bitten by the second phase. This was undoubtedly the worst Pomma that I've ever had the misfortune to have to use. Thankfully I had the camera running to catch a wipeout. In summary, if you don't like using pommatos, I'd say avoid this one like the plague. We made our way back to the top of Betex Arbois and then dropped all the way down to Saint Gervais on the red run below the gondola. This involved crossing a couple of roads and the snow cover was getting a little thin by close of play. I wasn't a fan of crossing these rather thinly covered roads and found myself almost breathing in to try to protect the nice pristine base of my new mistress. At this point, as we approached the third road, I saw a car moving out the corner of my eye and I had to stop, but thankfully it was driving away from me.
I just saw that car there.
Thankfully the snow held up and we could virtually make it down to the Saint Gervais gondola station via a tunnel which passes under the road. We finally made it as far as we could and just had to walk down a few steps to get to the gondola car park where we'd pick up the ski bus back to our apartment. On day 2 we headed for the slopes around Megeve. Stu and I were both introducing our new snowboards and Bidens to the piste for the first time. I'm happy to report that both passed with flying colours and I'm personally delighted with my new Karua Auto. Stu was getting to grips with his new board and I was starting to feel a bit more familiar with mine too. We dropped down towards the village and then took the Roche-Arbois Teleferique link across the valley. This was us in the red run heading down to the Petite Fontaine chair around the middle of the Megeve area. If you're enjoying this video, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to my channel and possibly having a look at some of my other videos. Thanks. Big Andy had joined us on the Monday and it was nice to catch up with the big chap again. I had hoped to get some time to drop into the village of Megeve itself as it looked really pretty from the videos that I'd seen of it, but we never really got the opportunity. On day 3 Mike and Bill headed off on their own and I stayed with Stu and Big Andy. We didn't travel too far from Saint Gervais, but we managed to cover a fair bit of ground. This is the Blue Finance Run, which can be easily accessed from the Betex Arbois and the Mont Blanc lifts. It's a really nice, fairly long blue, which you could rep using the aforementioned chairs. We ended up downloading most days, but if there was plenty of snow you could take finance to Betex and then board all the way down to the bottom of the Betex gondola via the Saint Gervais Red Run, which pretty much snakes underneath the gondola lines. One of the things I really liked about Saint Gervais is the number of tree-lined runs that they're after to enjoy. That whole side of the area is effectively a large forest, so the vast majority of the runs twist and turn down through the trees. I gave Stu the camera here to get some footage of me, but he was obviously getting a wee bit tired by this point, so we thought it was time for a wee seat at Le Spot and a beer. This was a handily placed little watering hole, which you'll find at the Betex gondola mid-station. On day 4, Bill, Mike and I headed over to Megeve again. This is Mike skiing down from Moulette's run, a bit slower than usual so that I could film him. The morning was pretty overcast with flat light, and I didn't start filming until almost lunchtime when we stopped at the cafe behind the Petite Fontaine chairlift for a van show. When we stopped to get the drone up to try to catch some of the scenery. It was a wee bit chilly heading back up in the Petite Fontaine chair after stopping for a bit, but we weren't long heating up again once we get started. This gave me a chance to swap out to the low light lens in my goggles, and I found it to be really beneficial. Historically I've found low light conditions to be very tricky, and I was really impressed with how much the low light specific lens helped with the definition of the snow. Some of the ridgelines and scenery in this area is absolutely stunning. I've never been so close to Mont Blanc. I've certainly seen it in the distance from many different resorts over the years, but you really are pretty close to it in Saint Gervais. She's widely referred to as the Roof of Europe, and not so affectionately known as the Cursed Mountain, which basically comes from late 18th century folklore when they believed that the mountain was inhabited by evil spirits, demons and witches who caused dangerous avalanches. We were a little concerned about a lack of snow before we arrived, but they did get a bit of a dump before we left, and to be honest I can't remember having such good conditions for the whole of a boarding holiday. For the majority of the 6 days we had proper hero snow, the type that makes you look good and just reacts to every edge you offer up to it. We're really fortunate to be heading to La Plagne for a week next month, and I'm a little worried that we've been spoilt by those conditions. I will obviously still be doing my snow dances in the run up to La Plagne and keeping everything crossed that we can be equally as lucky again. This is the Chateau Wee Green Run, which runs through the trees from the top to the bottom of the Betex d'Arbois gondola. This is a lovely wee run, and I'll be making a separate video of it shortly. Seeing the little kids in ski school always makes me smile. I saw some proper little kamikaze guys who were absolutely living their best lives, and I'm looking forward to getting my wee grandson Zach on the slopes at some point in the not too distant future. We had thought about possibly travelling down the valley to ski at Lake Contamine, but there was so much good skiing and boarding around the Saint Gervais area that we just didn't need to go anywhere else. We were also very lucky with the weather for our 6 days, with a mixture of nice sunny days, little wind and snow-friendly temperatures. Saint Gervais is a lovely wee town with some very impressive buildings and pretty street furniture. The church and old Hotel de Ville building are absolutely stunning, although I do feel that the town could do with maybe a few more restaurants to satiate the many hungry snow sports enthusiasts. If you're coming to Saint Gervais, I would recommend that you make restaurant reservations, as we struggled a couple of times to get a table, and I don't think it was an exceptionally busy week that we were there. In saying that, we were pleasantly surprised at how quiet the slopes were. There were a couple of notable pinch points at the Betex Gondola and the Rocherbois telecabine, but we never had to wait for more than 5 minutes to get on a lift. On our last day we managed to get about 4 hours in on the slopes before heading back for our transfer to Geneva. Stu, Mike and I didn't stray far from the top of Darbois, but Bill did make his way over to Saint Nicolas. If you're heading for Saint Gervais, I'd recommend doing a little bit of homework beforehand by having a look at Chamonix ski bums videos. I enjoyed watching them before heading over there, and they're definitely worth a watch. Good work, big man.
George, he's over in St Nicholas. So I says, cool, no worries, we're repping Châteauguay.
This is some drone footage of Mike skiing down towards the Betex mid-station on the Blue Finance run. Along with Châteauguay, Finance was another favourite run, but there was a lot of really nice terrain to be covered. With 450km piste available, we found the runs to all be very quiet, and there were times that you genuinely felt as if you were boarding alone on the slopes. Mike very graciously took a camera for a run and filmed some footage for me. I felt as if my boarding technique had improved, but viewing footage of yourself is a great way to see just what you're doing and identify areas that you need to work on. We had a fantastic holiday, everyone really enjoyed it, and we unanimously agreed that we would happily come back. Thanks Saint Gervais Les Bains, it was a blast. Here are a few images to finish off the video. Thanks ever so much for watching it, and I hope you enjoyed it.